Alright. See if we can't find the stream. There it is there. Okay, audio is working as it should. Stream's up, bot's working. Chat's up, we're all good to go. Well folks, we shouldn't be too far away from the race start. I think we've got one more driver yet to arrive, and that be our championship leader, the Moo. Don't see him in the lobby anyway, he's not in his Mercedes seat. So once he arrives, I think we should be set to get underway. But for now, just chill out, wait for the ready up signal, and we can move on with the race session. Hello Brody. Notice with you, you've now got a full-time seat with the Alpine team for the rest of the season. Notice Cam put up a message saying that. It's always nice to see more full-timers joining in, filling up the holes left vacant. There's Vermo. Took us a little while, but he's in. He's ready to go. This is the, I think it's the F123 theme, or one of the F123 themes. Because obviously I don't want to be running tracks in case that brings a video down. Twitch tend to be quite antsy in regards to that, so you chuck it on themes, that way it's probably less likely to be brought down. But yeah, I think it's one of the 2 or 3 F123 themes. That one, you know, I can't remember. I'd have to check afterwards. Ready up signal has been given. When the time hits 0, I'll start up my intro as per normal. Hello everyone and welcome to round 8 of the AM1 Championship here on Contest of Speed. I'm Lane Everingham, your commentator for this event, and this time we're competing at Bahrain International Circuit for the Bahrain Grand Prix. Constructed in 2004 and designed by track-making Supremo Herman Tilke, Bahrain is one of a few Tilkedromes that people actually like and respect. It's been a permanent round of the championship for 2 whole decades, and it's not disappearing anytime soon. Its likability comes from its ability to create very good racing, and thankfully for us, it's something that translates into the virtual world. The 3.36 mile 15 turn layout consists of 3 DRS zones that lead into the prime overtaking spots of turn 1, turn 4 and turn 11. Drivers can also attempt to pass into the hairpin of turn 8 and into the penultimate corner of turn 14. Even with the plethora of overtaking opportunities, drivers still need to try and qualify well. However, that's easier said than done. With Bahrain being a well-used racetrack in the world of online league racing, people know how to extract a decent amount of pace here. With that in mind, qualifying should be quite competitive, particularly in the midfield. But before we touch more on qualifying, there is a bit of news to go through first. From the previous race at Monza, there were no incident reports submitted by the drivers last week, so the final finishing positions of that race remain completely unchanged. In the Drivers' Championship, it's Vermu who's leading the way on 130 points. He's got a pretty healthy margin to Silkweaver in P2, who was on 85. Sang completes the top 3 on 70. Behind him is Kryptonic on 61. And Red Devil rounds out the top 5 on 57 points. In the Teams Championship, it's a fairly similar story. Mercedes are leading the way on 178 points. They've got a fairly decent margin to Haas, who are on 106. So 72 points separating the top 2 in the Teams Championship, with AlphaTauri completing the top 3 on 94. Red Bull are next on 74 points, followed by Ferrari on 63. So not a lot to go through after Monza, thank goodness. We can now focus on this here qualifying session. Got a couple of cars out on track already. 16-car field for this Bahrain Grand Prix. It's not a full field, but it's more than enough. So hopefully we see plenty of on-track action. It'll be Warren here in the Red Bull who will attempt the first flying lap of the session. He's got his battery switched on. He's used a little bit. He's now turned it off. Thank goodness. Because, yeah, I've done it on a couple of occasions as well, where you just kind of forget to turn off the battery. Make sure you don't dump all of it on your outlap. It's a bit silly, but I think we've all done it at some point. Just casually forgetting to turn off the battery. It happens. It does happen. But I'm quite hopeful that this is going to be a fairly entertaining session. Particularly in the midfield, I imagine it's going to be quite close. I wouldn't be surprised if Vermu put it on pole by a decent margin. He's shown a lot of form. There's a reason why he is our championship leader. But for now, we'll see what everyone can do straight away. The first driver to attempt the flying lap is Warren. He's right on board. Give you a tour of this 3.36 mile racetrack. Down towards turn 1. 8th gear, hitting a speed of 203 miles an hour. Drags it down to 2nd gear, gets back on the power, and up towards turn 2. 3rd gear, 4th gear, round turn 3, 5th gear, up into 6th, he'll open DRS, and head towards turn 4. Brake hard at the 100 meter board, bring it down to 3rd gear, back on the power. Nice progressive throttle input here. Around turn 5, then turn 6, then the left of turn 7, a tricky left-hander. Very easy to make a mistake through there. Potentially end up in the wall. Out of the hairpin at turn 8. We'll climb up and over a crest and into the most technical part of the circuit. Turns 9 and 10. Ryan gets through that pretty damn well, I must say. Onto the back straightaway. He'll open DRS and head towards turn 11. Definitely a potential overtaking spot here at the left-hander, but you don't see all too many overtakes. Turn 11, quite a fast corner. That doesn't look good. Harris has left the session. Okay, I think that might have sorted itself out. As we now enter turn 13. Up towards the final 2 corners on the racetrack. So turn 14 here, the right-hander. And this little kink, that is turn 15. We head back onto the main straightaway. We'll open DRS and cross the line. It's at a 1 minute 30.795. Red Devil, he's been on pretty decent qualifying form and race form. He's heading down the back straightaway towards turn 11. Nortec beats Warren's time. That's a margin of 1.2 seconds between Nortec and Warren. Bad Fast goes P2 with a 30.1. Red Devil making his way into the final sector. Only 3 corners in this final sector. Has to try and negotiate. Very important corners though. Each one of them leads on to a fairly long straightaway. It's important that you maximize exit speed so you can carry as much speed as possible down the straightaways. DRS open up towards the line for Red Devil. He takes provisional pole away from Nortec. Not by much though, by 52 thousandths of a second. Hunger crosses the line, goes 5th fastest with a 30.5. Harris has rejoined the session. Brody, as I mentioned before, is now a full-time driver for Alpine, making his way into turn 11 on the intermediate tyre as well. You don't see this all too often at Bahrain, but it's a tactic you can use in qualifying where you use an intermediate tyre just so then you can gather your bearings, so to speak, understand what your car's doing, understand what the setup's doing, and just give yourself a benchmark without using a set of softs. Meanwhile, Orlando has jumped to the top with a 29.2. Reserve driver here, Jay Knowles, making his way through the middle sector. Around the right-hander at turn 12. In previous games, that was a awfully notorious corner, purely because of the inside curb going through turn 12. You touch that, you spin. In F123, though, not as much. You can get away with touching it, but in previous games you touched that, it was an auto spin for you. Back onto the main straightaway for the reserve driver. Knowles will set a 30.321, goes 6th fastest with that lap time. Mr. Duval in the McLaren's getting ready. Same with Vermeulen. He's making his way down towards a hairpin at turn 8 as Harris has left the session again. He's having a really tough time staying in this session. Harris, he's jumping in and out. Hopefully he can find some stability soon and stick in the lobby. And I think the next driver to attempt to fly will be Mr. Duval. Everyone else out on track, I believe, are on in-laps. Silkweaver jumps to P2 with a 29.3, so he's just completed, I would guess, another flying lap because he did put a time down on the board. Evidently not a competitive one. That is far more competitive, though, from the AlphaTauri driver as Harris has rejoined the session. Front row at the moment, Orlando and Silkweaver, they're not separated by much. Less than a tenth of a second separating the top two cars as Mr. Duval is ready to begin a flying lap. Down the main straightaway with DRS open, he will head towards turn 1. Building up to a speed of 202 miles an hour. On the brakes hard, down to an apex speed of 48 miles an hour there at turn 1. He'll open DRS again and head towards turn 4. Vermeulen just behind him. He's going through the first corner. We'll keep an eye on the sector splits, shall we, between these two. See how they're doing. 29 flat for Mr. Duval in the first sector. What about Vermeulen in the Mercedes-Benz? Heading towards turn 4. Braking hard. Bringing it down to third gear, back on the power. Eventually reaches full throttle. Clock says for the championship leader, he's done a 28.6 to the first sector. Down the back straightaway goes Mr. Duval, heading towards turn 11. Red Devil now jumps to the top with a 29.156, beating Orlando's time by just under 1/10 of a second. Frenchman heading around turn 12 up towards the middle sector split. There's a 1 minute 7.5 exactly. That's a very nice looking time there. Round turn 11 now for our championship leader. Up towards turn 12. Flat out around the right-hander. 1 minute 6.8. 7/10 difference between Duval and Vermeulen. McLaren driver crosses the line and jumps up to P5 with a 129.798. What about Vermeulen? Around the final two corners, back onto the main straightaway. He's low on fuel. This will be the only run he'll do for this moment of qualifying. 1 minute 28.827. He takes provisional pole by a healthy margin as well. Just over 0.3 of a second between himself and Red Devil, now in P2. Saint is getting ready for a run. He will definitely be a challenger for Vermeulen in this Bahrain Grand Prix. He proved to be a challenger back at Monza. He heads down the main straightaway and towards turn 1. Kind of top speed will we see from the Red Bull, hitting 201 miles an hour, the slowest I've seen so far, into the opening corner. So perhaps carrying slightly extra wing on this Red Bull. Little slipstream as well there from Warren. Gets well out of the way. Doesn't want to impede his teammate. Up towards the first sector split. So 28.6. Very similar to what Vermeulen set in the first sector. Alright, the next time we've got to look out for is a 1 minute 6.8. That's what Vermeulen did to the middle sector. Round turns 9 and 10. Very tricky little complex here. Got tyres locking up front and rear. You want to keep those tyres rolling so you can maximise cornering grip through that turn. But you don't want to use the brakes too little, otherwise you'll just overshoot the corner. So you have to strike a balance, braking hard to slow the car down, braking just enough so then the front tyres remain gripped up and they'll turn into the corner. He did a 7 flat to the middle sector, so he's looking at a low 29 at this stage, and I imagine he'll probably lose a little bit of time to Vermeulen here because of the extra wing he's carrying compared to the Mercedes. Crosses the line, it's a 28.9, so there we go, P2 with that. He is 1.5 tenths off Vermeulen overall. Well, Lando out on track, got a couple of cars. Oh, hello, we got someone around. Is that an Alpine, I think? Nortec, he might be a bit big. He gets going again though. See, it's very easy to beat yourself on these curbs. Some of them are quite tall. And if you manage to position the car right, you can get stuck on them. It happened to me once. During a 100% race here at Bahrain. It wasn't fun. And it's one of the few occasions where I completely support resetting to track. Because if you're stuck, you can't do anything. You have to reset the circuit. Otherwise you'll get disqualified from the session. Schulz has jumped up to P4 with a 29.2. You can see the competitiveness in qualifying already. Top 10 are separated by a second, but if you take top 2 out, 1 second between P3, P11. Emmett not too far off, neither is Knowles. So yeah, qualifying is unsurprisingly competitive here at Bahrain. By 2.4 seconds. Remember, Brody did his first lap on a set of inters, heading towards the final 2 corners on the racetrack. Very low on fuel though, according to the telemetry. Will he peel back into pit lane? No, he will complete this flying lap. It's going to be a 130.2 essentially, P12 for the Alpine driver. I thought the finish line was a bit closer than that. It wasn't. It's a bit further away. Kryptonic in the Haas heading down towards turn 1. 201 miles an hour, similar top speed compared to Saint. Out of the first quarter, now around turn 2 and turn 3. What's with Haas drivers in almost every series I do when it comes to commentary? Why do almost all Haas drivers run with number 69? Almost all of them do. I mean, it's a very nice looking number on that particular car. I love the Haas font. Very nice, very aggressive. But yeah, almost all of them running 69. Almost all of them. I believe that was Knowles who just jumped up. That was a 30.029. What the reserve driver set. Got a couple of other cars around as well. We've got Orlando. Appears to be on a flying lap attempt here, heading up towards the first sector split. Clock says for the Haas driver, up by 1/10 of a second. Here's car 98. Oh, using all of the curb there at turn 7. You really don't want to do that. That's using far, far too much curb, and he's backed out of the lap. Not a great run through turn 8. So he says, screw it, I'm bailing. I'll go back into the pits. Have another go later. Silkweaver's on a in-lap from the looks of things. He's 9/10 down. Not on a proper flyer. Kryptonic just completed a lap. He's done a 29.809 P11, so just outside of the top 10. Emmett's just jumped up to P13, 1 minute 30.033. You can see the gaps here. Not much. It's really not much. Top 15, 1.3 seconds. And remember, this racetrack is 3.3 miles long. 15 corners you have to try and negotiate. So there's plenty of racetrack where you can lose time here. But because everyone has raced around here quite a lot, they know how to extract pace. They know how to extract a decent amount of pace here at Bahrain. Nortec getting ready for a flyer down the main straightaway towards turn 1. What kind of top speed will we see here from the Alpine? Highest I've seen is 203. It's 202 for Mr. Nortec as he goes through turn 1. Then the left at turn 2. The right at 3, really tricky traction zone through turns 2 and 3. Need to remain committed. You need to have a little bit of faith in the car. It does have more grip than you think, but if you overdo it, the car will snap. So you got to have faith, but you can't be too overconfident. Otherwise, you can have a doozy of an accident through turn 3 in particular. Through turns 9 and 10 onto the back straightaway. DRS wide open, heading towards turn 11. What kind of time can Nortec do to the middle sector? Currently P8 with a 29.5. If he improves, let's say we give him 4 tenths, he will jump easily inside the top 5. Currently up by 3 tenths. So he just needs to string together a tidy final sector. He will indeed jump inside the top 5. But he can't invalidate. Can't run wide here at turn 14. He doesn't. Keeps it well within the white lines. That was really tidy from Nortec. Crossing the line. It's P3. Improves by almost half a second to set a 29.084. Very nice. That was tidy. That lap. That was good to watch. Particularly that final sector. It was very clean. Kept it within the white lines. Didn't bother to use any of the curb. And all the traction. I'm sure you'd be pretty happy with that lap. I would be. 7.0 to the middle sector. Red Devil currently up by 1 tenth. He's going to challenge Nortec for P3 if he keeps this run up. Towards the final 2 corners. Using the full width of the circuit. Again, keeping it within the white lines. That was a tidy final sector for Devil. He jumps up to second. He doesn't just take third. He jumps to the front row. 28.968. Saint making his way through turn 3. DRS open, heading towards turn 4. Schulz on a flying lap, making his way into the hairpin at turn 8. He's currently P5 with a 29.2. Kryptonic goes 5th fastest now. 29.199, just in front of Schulz by 19 thousandths of a second. Saint is well down, looking at this in the first sector, so I think his qualifying session is over. Schulz making his way around turn 11, up by half a tenth in the first sector. Out of turn 12, towards the middle sector split. Clock says he's up by almost 2 tenths. With that sort of improvement, he can try and set a 29 flat. Needs to find a bit more time to try and challenge the top 3. Orlando on a lap as well. He's making his way out of turn 8. Schulz making his way around the final 2 corners. Clobbers a lot of that inside curb. Might have lost a little momentum by doing that. Up towards the line. It's a 29.130. I think he did lose momentum by clobbering that curb. He's 5th fastest at the moment. Saint, his session is done. What about Orlando? Heading around turn 11. Up towards turn 12. Middle sector split for him says he's up by almost a tenth. Silkweaver, 2 corners to go for him. Currently PA with a 29.3. Hunger's jumped to 7th with a 29.2. Harrisplex, he's done. 12th fastest for him. Silkweaver crosses the line. 4th quickest for him. He'd be happy with that for now. See what Orlando can do. Up towards the line for him. He takes 6th. 29.108. No surprises there. Vermu improves to a 28.645. Got a bit ahead of myself. As Kryptonic goes back into pit lane. So that's it. It's qualifying over. No real surprises at the top of the board. 28.6 is our pole time from Vermu. Red Devil will start alongside him on the front row. 3 cars in the 28s at the end of qualifying. Hello, Cam. Nice to see you in the chat. Alrighty. Just been waiting on Red Devil to move back into his garage. Being wheeled in as I speak. There we are. The end of qualifying. What do you know? It's fairly competitive. It's Vermu who will start from pole position for this Bahrain Grand Prix. Red Devil will start alongside him on the front row. Row 2 is made up of Saint and Silkweaver in P3 and 4. Nortec rounds out the top 5. Then we have Orlando, Schulz, Kryptonic, Hunger and Brody. That's the top 10. Then we have Bad Fast Mr. Duval, Harris Plex, then Knowles, Emmett, and Warren starting from the very back. Hello, Death Storm. Oh. Now it's race time. It is a tricky track. I've never been particularly competitive here at Bahrain. A lot of racetracks that are used quite frequently, particularly Bahrain and Silverstone, I notice, I'm never particularly good at. But other racetracks I tend to do quite well. But I agree, Bahrain is a tricky racetrack. You should never underestimate it. Alright, time for some nighttime racing. Lights up. Can't see a single star in the sky. Shame. Now, in terms of strategy, I imagine this is a fairly straightforward one. Either medium hard or hard medium. Games pass, and I believe F123 is no different. The soft tyre just burns up far too quickly. It's pretty much a qualifying tyre. However, if we have a perfectly timed safety car, particularly towards the end of the race, I wouldn't be at all surprised if everyone chucked on softs for that final stint. See a fair few hards at the front. See who's on what tyre then. This Bahrain Grand Prix. We have two guys on the hard tyre at the front of the field. Run through the order just quickly. Vermouth, starting from pole position, is on the hard compound tyre. Red Devil, starting alongside him, is on the mediums. We have Saint P3 on the hard compound tyre. Silkweaver in P4, with Nortec P5, Orlando P6, and Schulz 7th, as well as Kryptonic, who has spun himself at turn 3. All 5 of those cars are starting on the mediums. Hunger in P9 is starting on the hards. Brody in P10, starting on the mediums. Bad Fast 11th, gee whiz, on the hard tyre. Mr. Duval is next, he's on the mediums. Harris is starting on the hards in 13th place. Knowles starting on mediums, same with Emmett in 15th. And Warren starting from the back is on the hard compound tyre. So we have 6 cars on the hards, that means 10 on the medium tyre. And a grand total of 0 on the softs, which isn't at all surprising. Got a McLaren off the racetrack there at the back. That must be Mr. Duval exploring the track limits on the outside of turn 10. Yeah, I've noticed that, Mr. Duval. Right on board with him briefly. Damn near took the endurance layout. He went so far left out of turn 4. The old endurance layout of Bahrain. Layout that F1 decided to use in 2010 proved to be not at all popular. Much prefer this Grand Prix layout that we have today. Would be curious one day if we ever get to have the shortened layout that was used in 2020. Be very curious if we'd ever get that someday. I doubt it, of course, but it would be a lot of fun to have it. Everyone's lining up, getting ready to run. Knowles DSQ'd himself, so he'll be pushed back in his grid slot, which is less than ideal. Alright, here we go then. 16 cars ready to run. We have 5 red lights and we are underway here in Bahrain. It's a nice start from the looks of things for Vermoo as we head down towards turn 1. Devil's trying to draw alongside him. Oh, wow, that's bad fast. Look at his car in the back. He's sideways on the main straightaway. No idea why. Keep our eyes on the leaders, though, as Red Devils trying to hold off Saint. Heading up towards turn 4. Silkweaver wants to get involved. Almost 3 wide heading into turn 4. Round the outside goes Saint. Devil tries to hang on. The race leader's pulling away. Almost got a second in hand already. Devil takes P2. He hangs on to second. Saint in third. Silkweaver down the inside. Contact! Wheel-to-wheel contact between Weaver and Saint as they head towards turns 9 and 10. Same with the inside line. Nortec will try and follow. Round turn 10, he makes the move stick. He's up into 4th. Silkweaver down to 5th. Down the back straightaway towards turn number 11. Everyone getting through single file. Kryptonic under a little bit of pressure from Warren. Warren, a decent start, up 3 places. Bad fast though. Lagging all over the place down the main straightaway. He was facing 90 degrees in the wrong direction. He's now down in plumb last, 10 seconds behind. Vermoo must have made a mistake at some point. The gap has shrunk to 2/10 of a second. He's still leading. Not by much. Down the main straightaway, crossing the line. We begin lap 2 of 29 here at Bahrain. A long way to go. Silkweaver, Schulz side by side. Heading into turn 1. The Mercedes with the inside line gets in front. Silkweaver can't counter-attack. The AlphaTauri moves down to P6 and bad fast. Gets a 5-second time penalty for speeding. Into pit lane. He proceeds to retire from the session. And the driver's checking up after turn 4. Orlando under threat here from Hunger. Can't find a way round though. The Alfa Romeo stays in P9. Emmett directly behind. Bad fast leaves the session. Down the inside looks Kryptonic on Brody. They're side by side exiting the hairpin. Up the hill. Oh, Warren got a bit sideways. Red Bull kicking out, exiting the right-handed hairpin. Round turn 10 and onto the back straightaway. No DRS available just yet. You want to pass, you got to do it the old-fashioned way. Get a big load of slipstream and try and dive bomb it down the inside. No one in any sort of position to do that just yet. We got some little battle groups here and there. Side-by-side action between, I believe that's Emmett and Brody. Oh, that's a bit of lag there for Mr. Duval. Brody having a look down the inside here at the penultimate corner. Fully committed on the brakes. Got the job done. That's an old-fashioned overtake if ever I saw one. But Emmett says, mate, the position's mine. Uses the sheer straight line speed that he's got to move back into P10. Evidently Emmett running with fairly low wings on his Williams. Yellow's out, it's Warren. He has spun at turn 1, down to last. As Harris and Knowles battle for position. Up here though we have Orlando and Mr. Duval battling through turn 4. Duval looks to the inside heading into turn 6, but doesn't have momentum to try and get by the Haas, so he stays behind. Stays in P8. Hunger just behind. Locking up there from Duval. Down the inside goes Brody. Sorry, Emmett's down the inside. Brody went right round the long way. Round the outside. He takes P10. Down the hill. Round turn 10. Tight left-hand hairpin. DRS open now. Speeding up towards turn 11. The Alfa Romeo not close enough to pass Duval. Brody should be able to pull away here through the corners. Gap is half a second. Still sitting about half a second, but Emmett's wide, very wide there. They'll cost him time. Now he's under pressure from Kryptonic. And down the long straightaway towards the final 2 corners. Kryptonic gets by. That's for P11. Will the Harsh driver get any DRS assistance? That is the question. We'll go up to the leaders because we're going to have a change in the lead here as Red Devil moves through on Vermoo. Takes the lead at the beginning of lap 4. Emmett pits. Evidently he's got damage somehow. He's in for repairs. Only reason why he would pit in this early. Vermoo will take the lead back though. Down into turn 4. Not much that Red Devil could do about that. So neato little exchange between the top two. It's all sorted now. I don't think Red Devil will find a way through. Throughout the rest of the circuit, he'll have to wait until another DRS zone. Look at this midfield scrap. Silkweaver under a bit of pressure. Hunger's just behind. So is Mr. Duval in 9th place. Nice and tidy round the hairpin at turn 10. On to the back straightaway. Midfield, all of them line astern. A bit of lag there again. Red Devil still applying pressure to Vermoo, demonstrating his medium compound tyres. Still got plenty of pace. They haven't dropped off quite just yet. I'll be curious to see when they do though. Been a while since I've done a race here at Bahrain, so I don't know off the top of my head. I will be curious to see when when those mediums they start to fall off and the pace starts to drop. Red Devil close, but not close enough to go for a move. Silkweaver, on the other hand, he can't defend from that. Mr. Duval's trying to follow suit as well, down the inside at turn 1. Got that thing pulled up, and Silkweaver saw him coming, to be fair. Left him a lane to try and work with. So Duval moves up into 8th. Silkweaver down to 9th. Towards the front, we have Vermoo leading, half a second in hand to Red Devil in P2. Saint in 3rd, followed by Nortec. The Alpine driver looking very solid right now in 4th place. Just watching those in front. Brody moves through on Silkweaver. By the way the cars are positioned, he did that down the inside of turn 8. Oh, Weaver's wide. Now Kryptonic draws alongside. That AlphaTauri does not look healthy. He's dropping down through the order quite considerably. He might have a little bit of damage on that front wing. It looks intact, but with how this game works, you can get fairly minor damage with the front wing, and it looks to be intact from a spectator point of view. But on the MFD, and with Mark screaming to you on the radio, you'll say that the wing's broken and will probably need to be replaced. Either that or Silkweaver just hasn't quite hooked it together during the beginning of this race. Just hasn't found any rhythm, any flow just yet. Mr. Duval down the inside of turn 8. Brody will try and counter-attack here. Side by side through 3. DRS open on the Alpine. Brody with the inside line as well. Into turn 4. Duval can't fight that, not on the outside. He can try a switchback though. Oh, couldn't quite pull it off. Duval, now 9th, Brody up into 8th place. Yeah, some neat scraps up and down the order. Good to watch, good to see. Here are your leaders once again. Nortec starting to drop back, now 1.3 seconds behind. Kryptonic now gets by Mr. Duval. So does Silkweaver, so I'm guessing then Duval made a mistake at turn 10. Dropped down a couple of positions. It's now at the back of the train, or towards the back of that midfield train. Red Devil, bit too far behind to try and attack Vermoo at this stage. 7.5 tenths behind. He just used DRS to close in on the race leader, but he won't be in any position to try and pass. At this stage, all he needs to do is remain consistent, not make any mistakes, and just keep up with the leaders. That'll be Red Devil's game right now. Mr. Duval and Silkweaver back to this, I suppose. Duval losing control, losing positions. Knowles has an opportunity to try and pass down the inside. He's low on battery though. Couldn't quite get it done. Duval hangs on to P11. We head around turn 5, then turn 6. Knowles losing a little bit of ground, but keeping it tidy through turn 7. He gains that ground back. Brody now with 1.1 seconds in head to Kryptonic. Might give him the opportunity to try and pull away from this group. Try and catch up to the group in front. At the moment, he hasn't quite pulled away just yet. See what he can do through this final sector. The gap's still sitting at 1.1 seconds. Meanwhile, 3-car train. We have Nortec, Schulz and Orlando. Hunger in the Alfa Romeo, not terribly far behind. What can Schulz do? Got battery to play with. Nortec, not as much. There goes Schulz. What about Orlando? Has a look. Oh, he has a peek down the inside. Big old lift there from Nortec. DRS open on both the Haas and the Alpine, but you can see which one has the momentum. Orlando has a look down the inside of Schulz. Almost makes contact. And a big old wiggle from Nortec as well. He's wide. Hunger a bit too far behind to capitalise. But now he's within 1 second of the train in front. He'll get some much needed DRS assistance. Brody, he's been unable to pull away from the train behind him. The gap sits at 0.7 of a second between himself and Kryptonic. They go through the turn 10 hairpin. Onto this back straightaway. There's the battle for P4. Here comes the battle for P8. Oh, a little bit loose there. The Alpine kicking sideways. Going through turn 11. Timing and strategy are going to play a huge part in determining these battles. Going for either an undercut or an overcut is going to play a huge part in determining who finishes where. There's risks and rewards with either decision, as Orlando moves through into 4th place. Nortec tries to follow through, but he overshoots turn 1 big time and drops down to P7. So the Alpha gains a spot, Alpine loses a spot. Down towards turn 4, Nortec can't find a way through. Back towards the front, shall we? Vermeer, Red Devil, Saint. Now obviously Vermeer and Saint are running a lot longer compared to Devil in their first stint. Devil needs to time his pit stop pretty well, because I'd imagine if he pits in too soon, he's probably going to lose a bit of time to the leaders. He might do himself a favour just sticking with this group for as long as he can without losing DRS. The longer he can do that, the better off he'll be. And besides, running longer on those mediums gives you the opportunity to have fairly fresh hard compound tyres for the second and final stint of the race. So I think that's probably the best call for Red Devil right now. Don't pit in too soon. Don't go for a big undercut. Instead, just stick with this group right here, right now. Don't necessarily need to battle. He's getting close. He might try and battle. Down the inside of turn 1. But, of course, Vermeer, on a much more ideal racing line, is able to hang on to the race lead. Yeah, I think that's probably the best kind of strategy for Red Devil right now. Don't pit in too soon, and just stick with Vermeer and Saint for as long as you can. That way you give yourself nice, fresh, hard compound tyres for the second stint of the race. Meanwhile, battle for fourth continuing to rage on. We have Orlando at the front of this train. A Silkweaver. Kryptonics, what happened here? He's lost 2 places at turn 8. Might have made a mistake at turn 7. Lost control of the car. Managed to gather it back up. But he's now dropped down to P11. He's at the back of this train. Down towards turn 11. Gap sits at a second. Oh, the gap's continuing to increase. Oh, I see. He's got a missing end plate. On the left-hand side of that front wing, he'll have to pit. He doesn't have a choice. He'll have to pit and get that thing replaced. Put on a set of hard tyres. That's a shame. So I wonder then, did he make contact with another car? Or, again, with my prediction, did he lose control at turn 7? Perhaps bonk a wall. Break that front wing. Nortec's in. Kryptonic in as well. No surprise. Hard compound tyre ready for Nortec. Going for a bit of an undercut. And the undercut has its benefits. Having fresher tyres right here, right now, when everyone's on old rubber, you're set to gain a fair chunk of time straight away. The trouble is when everyone else is on fresh tyres, you're now immediately on the back foot and you have to go into defense mode. Around a racetrack that has 3 DRS zones and a plethora of decent overtaking opportunities, that's a really difficult thing to do. Ooh. But if you gain enough time with the fresh tyres right here, right now, give yourself a big enough cushion, then you don't have to worry about defending as much. But you have to put together and string together a lot of pretty decent laps in order to try and pull that off. Knowles closing in on Duval, having a look down the inside, but not committing to the move. Not that you really want to at turn 11. Like I said before, it's a potential overtaking spot, but it is really difficult to pull it off. It's a very fast corner. If you go down the inside, and you make front wheel to side pod contact, you spin, because that's how this game works. So there's not a particularly nice incentive to try and dive bomb it down the inside into a corner like that as Silkweaver pits in. Does he pull it up? He does. It's a 50-mile-an-hour pit lane, or 80 kilometers an hour. We make our way in, and what do you know? Front wing change. What do you know? Brody sets a new fastest lap at 32.9. So my initial prediction of him having minor front wing damage seems to be fairly solid. Kryptonic. He's come out behind Silkweaver. These two have got a lot of recovering to do. These fellas not so much. Top 3. Leading by a margin of 8.1 seconds back to Orlando in 4th. They're in a little world of their own. Steadily closing in on the halfway mark of this Bahrain Grand Prix. We've got an awfully long way to go though. Devil with a decent charge of battery. Say, not as much, but still decent. Yeah, these guys, I feel like they're just happy. Just cruising around for a bit. They'll let their strategies do the talking. And they're still bunched up like this towards the end of the race. Then they go all out. Try and battle for what they can. As Knowles pits in. Get off these mediums. Onto a set of hards. No front wing change. Just a change of tyre. Away he leaves. There's Brody in front of Warren and Nortec. Nortec trapped behind Warren at the moment. Can't find a way through. He is using a chunk of that overtake. There he goes. P10 now for Nortec. Close in now on his teammate. 1.1 behind, 1.2 behind. Down to second gear. Clips the apex. Back on the power. Down turn 9. Then 10. Down to second gear. Clips the apex. Gap still sits at around 1.2. So Brody and Nortec fairly even at this stage. In terms of outright pace. Down the main straightaway. Jules peels off into pit lane. Not waiting any longer. Unfortunately for him though, a little bit too eager. 5-second time penalty for speeding. On goes a set of hard compound tyres. Will he find some clear track to race in? Or will he be stuck in traffic? Both Alpines look like they're going to be set to pass. Here comes Brody and Nortec. They do pass. But I think Schulz will come out in front of Warren quite comfortably. And does. So then, Schulz will resume battle with Nortec. But now Brody's involved with his undercut attempt. At the moment he's holding firm in 7th place. But his teammate is closing. Now only 3.5 tenths behind. How long will these two fellas run? Particularly Orlando. He's done 13 laps on those mediums already. When will he blink? When will he pit? Same with Red Devil as Warren gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. Round turns 14 and 15. Closing in on that halfway mark. Red Devil 9 tenths behind. But thankfully for him, he still has DRS and he's got a lot of battery he can use to really maximize it down those straightaways. That way, even if he loses a fair chunk of time in the corners, he can just blitz it down the straights and gain all that time back. So he keeps himself going very fast at the front. Just to try and stretch out those mediums for as long as he can. Orlando should come out behind Schulz. Keep an eye on that Merc. Moves through. Alright, a bit of a mix-up then in this battle for what was 4th place. Nortec now at the front of this group. Brody now involved. Schulz on fresh tyres but with a time penalty. And Orlando now at the back of this queue. He's got the freshest tyres of all. Unless we forget, this man's also involved, but now he's sort of all on his own. Maybe doing himself a favour, he might have to pit right here, right now, and try and do 14 laps on the mediums, a bit like what Red Devil is doing right now. Because if he, as it's demonstrated, the longer you stay out on those mediums, the more track position you lose to everyone on fresh tyres. And if you lose out on too much track position, well, it's going to be tough to gain that time back. As Red Devil finally pits to get off those medium compound tyres and onto a set of hards. He's done well. He's got plenty of battery to play with. So he can really try and push it out of the pits if he wants to. He can push it quite hard. Hunger elects to stay out. So he's committed to what he's doing right now. He's got a lap target in mind. Harris is in. Red Devil comes out well in front of the Alpines as Schulz sets a new fastest lap. 132.723. Look at him, he's using the battery already out of the pits. So it'll be very fascinating to see how Devil plays himself into this battle at the front. He is set to gain time, I'd imagine, on both Amu and Saint. But how much time can he gain? And when will these two blink to move on to the medium tyre? Fascinating game of strategy, this. I'll be very curious to see who's got it spot on. down the long straightaway towards the final two turns. Vermeer moving it far left, trying to open up the final two corners as much as he can. Vermeer's coming in, and so is Saint, so they're blinking straight away. Ooh, yep, he pulls it up. They're not going to give Red Devil the opportunity for a big undercut. Bit low on battery though for Saint. Vermeer looking a bit better. And Hunger's in as well. Medium tyres at the ready. Red Devil then will take the lead from Vermeer. Vermeer having a look down the inside, but he's not close enough to fully send it in. Alright. Red Devil now on hard tyres, but they're going to remain in incredibly good nick from here to the finish. He's medium, so maybe not. They're going to be very quick for a solid 8-9 laps, but after that I don't think they're going to be much better than the hard compound tyre. Brody under pressure here from Schulz behind. Schulz looking, Brody losing it! Sideways and around! Lights it up, gets it pointed back in the right direction, gets off the racetrack. That's good alertness there from Brody. Utilising the extra pieces of the racetrack to try and recover the car. So Brody now down to 8th place with that mistake. He played himself into a pretty decent position. He's just thrown it away with that oopsie at turn 7. So, back to our usual business there with Nortec, Schulz, Orlando. Hunger 4.6 behind. That's a big gap. And he doesn't have DRS to play with. He's got mediums. It's the only thing he's got. He needs to harness the pace of those tyres, try and cut down the gap. Orlando, he's getting set to try and pass here. He should do pretty easily, I'd imagine. Or not. Oh, he's actually lifting. Look at the telemetry. He doesn't want to battle Schulz. Curious. He didn't want to pass him there. He wanted to stay behind. Will he do the same here? Silkweaver, he's past Warren. That's for 9th. Yeah, look, he's hovering at about more, I want to say about 90% throttle. So, Orlando's pretty comfortable letting Schulz maintain his position to try and catch up to this blue boy in 4th. And that's exactly what Schulz is doing. Already within that 1 second range. So, just a bit of patience here from Orlando. Just thinking about the situation. His mindset's a bit like, there's no need to battle this guy in front of me. He's already catching up to Nortec in 4th. Just let him do that. And when he does, then I can be opportunistic. Maybe try and take the pair of them at the right moment. Because in a battle like this, where the margins are close and everybody's competitive, timing's everything. Speaking of which, the mood's caught up to Red Devil, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see a change in the lead. But just something that's popped up to my attention as the mood set a new fastest lap. Look at that fuel icon on the telemetry. That is yellow. So he's running pretty even in fuel right now. I'm right on board. Not a plus or minus symbol, hang on. I think that's minus 0.03. I think. He is very, very close to even right now. Might be something to keep an eye on throughout the rest of this race. Has Vermeer blown it in terms of the fuel? Keep an eye on it. For now, we now have Schulz leading from Orlando, then Nortec. So evidently Nortec got swallowed. He's now at the back of this queue, but he's not out of the fight. So long as he stays within that 1 second range, he maintains his position in this fight. But he too has got a fuel problem. Look at the telemetry. Yellow fuel icon. What about Orlando? He's good. Schulz is good as well. Saint and Red Devil, they're okay. So Vermeer and Nortec. Hunger's okay. Brody's okay. Same with Silkweaver. Same with Mr. Duval. Warren. Yeah. Harris. Kryptonic, Knowles, and Emmett. So 2 cars in the yellow right now. Only 2. Harris looking around the outside of Warren. Gets in front. That's for P11. A relatively clear track in front of him. 3.2 seconds up to Mr. Duval as Vermeulen sets a new fastest lap. So he's not mucking around, Vermeulen. Gap now sitting at 1.4. That means Devil is going to be a tad bit vulnerable to Saint, as he doesn't have any DRS assistance to try and, you know, be dragged along by Vermeulen. I'm now at 1.5. Red Devil has used a bit of his battery, a fair chunk of it, down to 24% now. Saint looking a bit worse so on 8%. Vermeulen sitting pretty at 51. Oh, big slide there from Saint. Far too eager on the accelerator, lost time. Won't be going for a move then at turn 11, he'll be too far back. Go to this then, shall we? Schulz, Orlando. Nortex losing time. Time he really can't afford to lose. He's now 1.1 seconds behind Orlando as Emmett has left the session. Hopefully he can find his way back in as soon as possible. And Nortex continuing to lose time. 1.3 seconds now the gap. Hunger's closing in. Now 2 seconds behind Nortex. Can the Alfa Romeo driver play himself into this battle for 4th place? He's still got a bit of catching up to do. Now 1.5 seconds behind the Alpine. Appears that Vermeulen might have made a mistake at some point as well. The gap has shrunk. It's now down to 0.6 of a second. So Red Devil give himself some DRS assistance here. Might ride back on board with Vermeulen. Take a look at that little screen he has in front of him. Still running at about even. Hasn't really changed now. 0.3, 0.4, 0.04, 0.03. So he's running very, very close when it comes to fuel. But he might be A-OK. Might. Brody gets by Duval down the inside of turn 4. Duval tries to fight back round the outside. Through the S's now. Turn 5, turn 6, wheel-to-wheel contact as they head through the left of 7. They get through, but now Silk Weaver closes in. So we've got a 3-car fight then for 8th place on track. Harris and Kryptonic not terribly far behind. They go around turn 10. Onto the back straight. Orlando half a second behind Schulz. Just hovering for the moment. Demonstrated patience before. Probably just fine sitting behind Schulz. For the meanwhile. Hunger though. Might try and find a way through. Speaking of finding a way through, Red Devil's now taking the lead. From Vermeulen. Will Vermeulen fight back? Not using any battery at the moment. Won't go for any move either. He stays behind in second. Fascinating. Maybe that fuel problem might be a bit more of an issue than I initially anticipated. And look, Orlando just hovering on the throttle, not pushing too hard. Silk Weaver gets in front of Brody. That's for P9. Oh, bit awkward though through turns 2 and 3. Brody close. Brody not close enough. Oh, well, I think he's hit the back of Silk Weaver. Cost himself time. And now Harris moves through into the top 10. Kryptonic not close enough to try and make a move. Knowles pits for soft compound tyres from the looks of things. And in 15th place. Alright. Few battles here and there. Good to see. Now, the Alpha's catching. Soon as he gets within that 1 second range, it's game on between these three. He is dumping every bit of battery to try and catch up. Vermouth stays behind, and look, that yellow fuel icon has disappeared. So Vermouth back in the grey as Orlando moves through into 4th place. So he's blinking now. He sees the red Alpha closing in. So he passes, moves through into 4th. Using up some of that battery he saved to try and pull away. It's been a very smart drive from Orlando so far, but hasn't paid off. Time will ultimately tell. Fascinated to see how Hunger plays himself into this. Back up towards the front, shall we? Get that yellow fuel icon all gone. Plus 0.02, 0.04. So he's just inside a positive range. Got a ton of battery as well. Saint on 30%. He's got a little bit in his back pocket. Ideally need to save a little bit more. Red Devil, the worst of the top 3 on 22, now 21%. Alright, what does Vermouth do then? Does he take the lead back? Or is he going to sit in behind the Williams for a bit? Wait for a more ideal moment to try and strike. At the moment he's just going to sit behind. And play a patient game, it seems. Let the laps tick over a little bit before making a pass for the lead. Nice little aerial shot here. Helicopter style shot. So go through the S section, 5, 6 and 7. Tricky complex as we go into the hairpin of turn 8. Look at that carpet of rubber being laid down in the braking zone at turn 8. They climb a hill, topple over a crest, then barrel down through turns 9 and 10. Oh, a bit of an overshoot there from Saint. You can see him lose time with that slight overshoot. Sort of demonstrating how much margin for error you have in these Formula 1 cars. If you're offline by, let's say, a foot or so, you're standing to lose about 2.5 tenths down the following straightaway, maybe even more. But you can gain that all back thanks to the power of DRS. Little wiggle there from Vermouth. Keeps that under control though. Here we go then, folks. Crossing the line now. We begin lap 25. We have got 5 laps to go here at Sakir. Vermouth not going for the move. Staying behind, being patient. Look at the Alpha. It's closed in. Now with some DRS assistance, Orlando moves to the inside. Trying to break up the slipstream as Kryptonic tries to get by Brody. I think he timed that overtake a bit poorly because I think he's just given the Alpine DRS. He has. Oh, big old shift over to the inside of the racetrack. Some weaving here. Brody lifting. Interesting. What's that all about then? It's like he was shadowing Kryptonic. Yeah, it's open again. Oh, touch, and around goes Brody. Now got marbles all over his tyres, so finally cleared away. Nortec, a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. What was that all about? That was very funky. Between Kryptonic and Brody there. Managed to get themselves sorted, I hope. That was just very weird to watch. Alright, leading trio. To the inside goes Vermouth. He'll send it in. Look at the charge he's saved up to. 100%. Well then, I think the race win is pretty well secured here for Vermouth. It's now down to the battle for second place. Oh! contact between Devil and Saint. You see that? He moved hard right. Was that lag, or did he actually do that? Just chucked it right. Had to have been lag. There's no way he would have done that deliberately, surely. Just bonk. Straight into it. Alright, we'll go to this then. Oh, hang on. Oh, I thought Hunger disappeared for a second. No, he's still right there. Brody and Kryptonic, these two. What's going on here? So Brody's back in front. No contact this time around through turn 4. So Brody stays in 11. Silkweaver behind Mr. Duval. Then we have these three continuing to battle away. But primarily it's going to be a battle between Orlando and Hunger here, because they both have 0 time penalties next to their name, compared to Schulz, who got a 5 second for being a dum-dum and speeding into the pits. We all do it though. You can't be mad. Saint, he's not giving up on this. There's a chance for a win here. Problem is, the guy leading's got all of the battery. And he's going to splurge just about all of it on the final 2 laps. So the likelihood of Saint getting by is minimal, as Orlando and Schulz battle through turn 1. And now Orlando has a car between himself and Hunger. But will that remain to be the case heading towards turn 4? Because Schulz will have DRS. Look at him close that gap. Had a brief look down the inside, but decided to not commit to the overtake. So Orlando now with a car between himself and his main rival in this battle. Meanwhile, 3 cars here. We have Silkweaver, Mr. Duval, and Harris, P8, 9, and 10. They're on their own, so the best that any one of these 3 can hope for is P8, unless, of course, someone in front does a dum-dum and crashes out of the race with 2.5 laps to go. Which wouldn't be the first time, to be absolutely fair. Not long ago, about a month ago, saw an epic duel here at Bahrain between 2 of the top drivers here in the Pacific region, in the Oceanic region. And on the very last lap, they took each other out. Oh, you're joking. Well, that's the battle for 4th sorted then. Hunger has taken himself out of contention. I'm not sure if he had help with that spin. But what I do know, he's down in 7th place. All by his lonesome. Schulz goes around the outside of Orlando. Orlando won't be too phased about this now. He'll just let he can just let the penalty do all the talking if he so chooses. And you can see he's not actually using DRS. So, well, in fairness to S12, he is still running, unlike the other 2 Muppets who took each other out. And I'll show you where they did it as well. They did it right here, at the exit of turn 7. They were side by side through the S's, they hooked wheels, and they sent each other into the left-hand side wall, over there yonder. And took each other... Oh, one of them got taken out. The other one, the other one went on to finish... When did he finish? Was it 3rd? Can't quite remember. One of them got taken out. So in fairness, he's still running. So it's not a complete curse. Not my fault. Oh dear. Alright, Saint, what have you got left then? 4 tenths in hand at the beginning of the final lap. Surely he has to try and send it. Here at turn 1. It's his best chance. Bermude covers. Round turn 1. Then turn 2. And up and around turn 3. Saint, 3 tenths behind. A look. A dart. A dive. Doesn't quite work. 4 tenths behind Vermeulen now. Vermeulen with a ton of battery. He is running pretty low on fuel though. That might become a concern. It might become a concern heading onto the main straightaway. Mate. Around turn 10. Onto the back straightaway. Half a second behind. DRS open. Saint has one last chance to try and go for the race lead. One shot. And that's down at turn 14. He needs a mega run. And probably ideally, Vermoo needs to make a mistake. He doesn't. And he's got plenty of battery to try and splurge to make sure Saint can't close in. It's a well put together drive. As he heads out of the final corner, Saint has given it everything, but it's not enough. It's Vermoo who wins the Bahrain Grand Prix. Saint Holmes second, and Red Devil, a fine podium finish for him, finishes third. And we gets in front of Nortec. Oh, Nortec's out of fuel, is he? He's out of fuel! The Alpine's out of fuel! Orlando finishes fourth. Schulz finishes fifth. Hunger will be the next car in P6. But here's the stricken Alpine. Out of fuel and with a penalty next to his name. 3 seconds, he's going to tumble down the order. Silkweaver finishes 7th. Nortec will finish 10th. He was set. Pretty decent finish, but he ran out of fuel in the final sector. He will score only 1 point from this Grand Prix. Next car will be Knowles, P13, followed by Warren. Oh. Mr. Duval, given driver of the day. We'll see his performance, the final results screen. But for now, it's podium celebrations. And well done to our top 3, genuinely, in a class of their own today. Vermoo wins with Saint home in second. He gave it everything to try and go for that win. He just fell short. And Red Devil, another podium finish for him. P3. The unofficial results then of the Bahrain Grand Prix. Vermoo is your race winner. Setting the fastest lap as well, with a full complement of points then for our championship leader. Saint home P2, Red Devil completes the podium places in 3rd. Orlando 4th, followed by Schulz 5th, Hunger 6th. And we have Silkweaver from 12th on the grid. Mr. Duval finishes 8th. And then we have Harrisplex P9, Nortec finishes in the points. He ends up scoring 1. Brody 11th, followed by Kryptonic, Knowles, Warren, Emmett, Badfast. Our only retirement of the race. He was caught up with his own net on the very first lap. Caused a bit of drama, but ultimately he elected to retire. It was a game of strategy out there today here at Bahrain, and it was ultimately won by Vermoo. It was a tight battle at the front, but he played himself quite well. He put himself in a very good position. Had all the battery in the world to try and defend his lead, and that's exactly what he did. I love Bahrain. It's a good track. It's incredibly solid. I think it's probably the best way of describing it. Just very solid. Rarely does it ever disappoint. Final congratulations to our top 3. Big congrats again to Vermoo, our race winner. No, quite a nice race under the night sky at Bahrain. Plenty of strategy, some good battles as well. Just a pleasure to watch. But I think with everything said and done, it's now time for us to end the stream. I've been Lane Everingham. Thank you everyone so much for watching. And we'll see you next week for round 9 of the AM1 Championship at the legendary Circuit de Monaco for the Monaco Grand Prix. It's been a while since I've done a race around there. Qualifying is bound to be a lot of fun, and the race is bound to be incredibly dramatic. Until next time, it's goodbye.